She took me with her to her friend's wedding. We danced, took photos, spent the whole night together. Later, I saw what she posted online. Dozens of pictures, but I'd been cropped out of every one. She made it look like she went alone. When I asked why, she smirked and said, "Honestly, I didn't want people thinking I downgraded." I didn't say a word. This morning, she's banging on my door, screaming me my name. 31 missed calls and counting. I'm not the type to air dirty laundry online. But when someone shows you exactly who they are and then gets a taste of their own medicine, well, that's a story worth telling. Cassandra and I had been dating for 7 months. I'm 32, work as a structural engineer, enjoy the outdoors, and keep myself in decent shape. Not a model, but not someone who usually gets told they're an embarrassment to be seen with either. Cassandra is 29, works in PR for a luxury hotel chain, and has the kind of Instagram feed that makes her life look like a constant vacation. Perfect angles, perfect lighting, perfect everything. I should have seen the signs earlier. The way she'd insist on taking dozens of photos before we could start eating at restaurants. The constant checking of likes and comments while we were together. The subtle digs about my clothes not being on brand enough when she wanted to post something with me in it. But I liked her. A lot. She could be incredibly charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my work and hobbies. At least when her phone wasn't in her hand. Which, admittedly, wasn't often. 2 weeks ago, her college friend Alyssa was getting married at a high-end vineyard resort about 2 hours from the city. Cassandra had been looking forward to it for months, partly because she was genuinely happy for her friend, but mostly, I suspected, because it was the perfect content opportunity. The location is insane, she'd told me repeatedly. The photos are going to be amazing. I rented a nice suit, got a haircut, even bought new shoes for the occasion. When I picked her up that Saturday, she looked stunning in a deep blue dress that perfectly complemented the flowers she knew would be at the venue. She'd studied the bride's Instagram religiously for clues about the color scheme. She seemed happy with my appearance too, giving me an approving once-over before we headed out. The wedding was beautiful. We danced, we drank champagne, we took dozens of photos both alone and together. Cassandra seemed genuinely affectionate, introducing me to her friends with what appeared to be pride. I remember thinking, maybe this is turning into something real. Fool that I was. The morning after, I woke up early and made coffee while Cassandra slept in. Curious to see if any wedding photos had been posted yet, I checked Instagram. Sure enough, Cassandra had been busy before falling asleep. 15 posts in her story and a carefully curated carousel post on her main feed. But something was off. In every single photo where we had been together, I had been cropped out. Photos we'd asked other guests to take of us together had been edited to feature just her. Selfies we'd taken had been cropped to eliminate me entirely. Even in the background of group shots, where I could be seen if you look closely, she'd subtly blurred my face. The caption, "Solo adventures at the most magical wedding. Congratulations at Alyssa James on finding your forever person. Still searching for mine. Hashtag still single, hashtag wedding season, hashtag not bridesmaid again. Still single?" I stared at my phone, a cold feeling settling in my stomach. Maybe there was a good explanation. Maybe she was maintaining some kind of brand image I didn't understand. Maybe it was an inside joke. When Cassandra finally woke up and joined me in the kitchen, I showed her the post without comment. She glanced at it, then back at me, completely unconcerned. "Is there some reason you cropped me out of every photo and said you're still single?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She rolled her eyes slightly. "It's just Instagram, Mark. It's not that deep. I'm just curious about the reasoning." She sighed, like I was being tedious. "My followers expect a certain aesthetic. The algorithm responds better to solo shots of me, especially at aspirational locations. And the still single hashtag?" She hesitated a moment too long. "It's just for engagement. People relate to the single girl at the wedding trope." I nodded slowly. "So it has nothing to do with being embarrassed to be seen with me?" That's when she showed her true colors. Instead of a quick denial, she gave me a look that can only be described as contemptuous. Then she smirked. "Honestly, I didn't want people thinking I downgraded." The words hung in the air between us. "Downgraded," I repeated. "Look, she said, suddenly defensive. My ex was a model. The one before him played pro lacrosse. My followers have certain expectations. You're nice, but you don't exactly fit the image. I felt like I'd been slapped. 7 months together, and this was what she really thought. Not that I was someone she cared about, but that I was a downgrade. Someone she was embarrassed to be associated with publicly. I see, was all I said. Don't make this a thing, she sighed, already reaching for her phone. It's just social media. It's not real life. But the look on her face when she'd said it, that smirk, that casual cruelty, that had been very real. I didn't argue, didn't get angry. I simply nodded, finished my coffee, and told her I needed to head out early for a work emergency. She barely looked up from her phone as I left her apartment. On the drive home, a plan began forming in my mind. If Instagram was so important to her, if her carefully curated online presence was what she truly valued, then that's where the consequences should be felt. First, I called Alyssa, the bride. We'd gotten along well at the wedding, and she'd seemed genuinely happy that her friend was in a relationship. I explained the situation briefly, without melodrama. Asked if she had all the original, unedited photos from the wedding photographer. She was quiet for a moment. She did this to Jake too, Alyssa finally said. Her ex before you. I always thought it was weird, but she said he preferred keeping their relationship private. An hour later, Alyssa sent me a link to the photographer's complete album. Every photo, untouched and uncropped. Next, I reached out to Jake, Cassandra's ex. Found him easily enough on Alyssa's Instagram. Turned out he wasn't a model at all. He was an accountant who did some commercial print work on the side. We met for a beer that evening, and an illuminating conversation ensued. She did the same thing to me, he confirmed. For 2 years, I was her boyfriend in private and a stranger on her Instagram. When I finally confronted her about it, she said her brand was more important than my ego. And the guy before you? The professional lacrosse player? Jake laughed. Matt? He played lacrosse in college, but professionally, he manages a sporting goods store. Nice guy, actually. We're friends now. Over the next 3 days, I gathered evidence and made connections. Spoke to 5 of Cassandra's exes in total. All had similar stories. All had been erased, diminished, or misrepresented. And none of them matched the idealized descriptions she'd given me. While this investigation was happening, Cassandra acted as if our conversation had never occurred. She texted normally, made plans for the coming weekend, even sent me links to restaurants she wanted to try. Not once did she acknowledge what she'd said or how it might have affected me. In her mind, it was a non-issue. On day 4, I executed my plan. I created a new Instagram account, The Real Cassandra Lee. I uploaded the unedited wedding photos showing us together. Screenshots of her still single posts alongside photos of us clearly as a couple from the same events. I included testimonials from her exes, with their permission, revealing the pattern of public erasure and private denigration. But the coup de grace? A video compilation of Cassandra's own words, secretly recorded during our final conversation. The night before, I'd invited her over for dinner at my place. Throughout the evening, I carefully steered the conversation towards social media, authenticity, and relationships. With my phone recording in my pocket, I asked variations of the same questions I'd asked after the wedding. This time, thinking she was in a safe space, she elaborated on her philosophy. Instagram is more important than people realize. It's not just photos, it's currency, social capital. People judge you by who you associate with. So I'm bad for your brand? I asked, keeping my tone light, curious rather than confrontational. She sighed impatiently. You're not bad. You're just basic. My audience expects a certain lifestyle. They want aspiration, not normality. And your exes? Were they all on brand? God, no. Jake was the most boring accountant ever. Matt worked retail. Chris had potential, but drove a Hyundai. She laughed. But online, they didn't exist, and my engagement was better for it. The recording continued for 15 excruciating minutes as she explained with breathtaking callousness how she saw relationships as accessories to be displayed or concealed depending on their social media value. I posted everything at exactly 9 a.m. when I knew her daily analytics check occurred. Then I tagged everyone, her friends, her colleagues, her family members, her exes, and most importantly, the luxury brands she partnered with professionally. The account went from 0 to over 1,000 followers in under an hour. By noon, it had been shared in Instagram stories by dozens of people in her network, including 2 micro-influencers she'd frequently mentioned wanting to collaborate with. At 12:37 p.m., my phone began ringing. "Cassandra," I declined the call. Then another, and another. Text messages flooded in. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Delete this right now. You're ruining my life. My brand partnerships are contacting me. This is slander." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I turned off notifications and went to a movie. When I emerged 3 hours later, I had 31 missed calls and over 60 text messages. The final message, sent just 20 minutes earlier, simply read, "I'm coming over. We need to talk. Now." Sure enough, when I arrived home, Cassandra was already there, pounding on my door with increasing desperation. From inside my closed car, I could hear her shouting my name, her voice raw with panic and rage. I didn't get out. Instead, I sent her one text. I didn't want people thinking I downgraded my standards by dating someone so superficial. "Don't worry though, it's just social media. It's not real life, right?" Then I drove to a hotel for the night. By morning, the fallout was spectacular. 3 brands had publicly severed ties with her. Dozens of followers were sharing stories of witnessing similar behavior from her in the past. Her carefully constructed house of cards was collapsing in real time. She'd posted a tearful apology video that rang hollow against the evidence, made her account private, then public again with comments limited, then deleted it entirely for a few hours before reactivating it with all posts archived. Classic crisis management spiral. It's been a week now. The initial frenzy has died down somewhat. I've deleted the account I created. It had served its purpose, and I'm not interested in ongoing humiliation. That was never the goal. The goal was consequences. Proportional, targeted consequences for someone who had shown a complete disregard for the people in her life. Cassandra has tried different approaches to reach me. Anger, pleading, rationalization, threats of legal action, empty ones. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. And finally, seemingly genuine remorse. Yesterday, she sent an email that actually seemed sincere. "I understand now what I did, not just to you, but to everyone. I've been living for likes and validation so long that I lost sight of what matters. The image became more important than the reality. I know you probably won't forgive me, but I am truly sorry. Not for the consequences, but for who I became." Maybe she means it. Maybe it's just another performance. Either way, I won't be around to find out. Some might say my response was disproportionate, that I could have just walked away. To them I say, patterns only change when they're exposed to light. Cassandra had been treating people as props for years, discarding or concealing them when they didn't serve her carefully curated narrative. Someone like that doesn't change because one more person quietly exits their life. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for future potential victims, and even for the person themselves, is to create consequences significant enough to force reflection. Do I regret it? Only that I didn't see her true nature sooner. But there's a certain poetic justice in using the very platform she prioritized over human connection to reveal the truth. The real her. The unfiltered, uncropped reality. Edit. To those asking if this was really necessary, yes, this wasn't about one thoughtless comment. It was about a pattern of dehumanizing behavior she'd been engaging in for years, with multiple partners. Sometimes public consequences are the only ones that register with people who care more about their public image than the people around them. Edit 2. No, I'm not worried about legal repercussions. Everything I posted was either demonstrably true or directly from her own mouth. I consulted with a lawyer before proceeding. Edit 3. For those wondering about the aftermath for Cassandra, according to mutual friends, she's relocated temporarily to stay with family and is reconsidering her relationship with social media. Whether that's genuine growth or damage control remains to be seen. Edit 4. Final update. 3 months later, I've moved on completely. Changed jobs for an opportunity I'd been considering anyway. Started dating someone who proudly posts unfiltered photos of us together. As for Cassandra, I heard she's built back about half her following with a new, supposedly more authentic approach to content. I wish her well, genuinely. Some lessons are expensive but necessary.